That's the second time I got crabs.
Oh man, I hate that. We are live from the Central Building in Everett, Washington. Finally got the technical difficulties down. Hopefully, some of my friends I posted on Facebook are tuning in. It's horrible traffic for me today coming from Everett. This whole area just has horrible traffic. But that's why I've almost thought about running as a politician, honestly, just to try to talk about the bill where they give people bonuses to stay in the city, work in the city where they live, and give companies bonuses. I mean, you want to talk about like EPA standards and stuff, I think that would really cut down on pollution and a lot of other crap.
I would just be in it for the kickbacks and the Hooters.
Hey,
You know,
do that.
that's my that would be my platform. I will take your money and anything else you put in my hand.
Would you guys be for that out there? If anybody's watching it, would you be for a tax, some kind of tax that would pay you to work in the city where you live? I think that's as good a bill as any to cut down on emissions. We have places like I went to SLO, St. Louis Obispo, awesome town. No drive-thrus there. You ever been to a town with no drive-thrus?
No.
Recently. That was interesting, and I went in and got propositioned by two ladies of the night, and one that was pregnant and begged me to buy her a hotel room, so that was interesting.
I'm
Yeah,
pregnant.
yeah, pretty visibly pregnant.
That's still not a deal breaker.
I don't know.
Shout out to San Luis Obispo 107.3 The Rock down there.
Shout out for whoever just gave us a thumbs up. Thanks, Dad.
I'm a big fan of the SLO. The 107.3 is the punk show with Tristan. So the punk ass bitches show as it was.
Never listened to it. I used to listen to a lot of 97 Rock down there in Tri-Cities.
I used to live down around that area, and I would write into the show a few times. So Frosty says hi, 107.3.
Nice. Yeah, I used to call into the Tri-Cities in Kennewick into the locker room. They called me Speed Bag because the only sport I cared about at the time was fighting, and I was telling them back before 2000, UFC is going to be a thing, really? And they're like, no, we want to talk about high school football. Okay.
One of the most useless things you can ever talk about is high school football. Oh, he didn't go. He's going to run. He's going to be a fullback. It's like, no, he's going to pull his ACL and he's going to lose out on his college scholarship. He's going to be working at the Wendy's the rest of his fucking life.
Yeah.
But boy, that game back in '06, he was on fire. Yeah, look at him now. He still's got that same Trans Am, except it's now primer and none of the wheels match.
Yeah. One of our star running backs, in high school, it was Kirk Coleman, actually, right after high school, got in a horrific car accident, DUI, ran through a stop sign, and was dead. So yeah,
Some of the boosters probably
condolences to him. It's been a long time there, but sorry. It's been a long time. I was friends with his girlfriend though, and that was a pretty tough time there. But college athletes definitely need to get paid. That's a circular reasoning of nonsense. Well, we can't pay you because you're
a student athlete, then it makes you professional, then it ruins the integrity of the game. Blah blah.
Oh yeah, well the colleges are pulling in millions and billions of dollars in endorsements, and you're ruining your life, ripping your ACL.
That's where colleges get most of their money. They get most of their money from endowments, from like alumni that have made a lot of money, and it's from all the sports that they get all the rights to. They make all the money off them. The college football video games, the college whatever, they all get their money, and the student athletes don't get dick. Well, they're getting paid in education. No, you recruited Gunther Bubba out of fucking West Texas, not because he was a super science whiz, because he could kick the ball really far and take a hit. And you're using them until they're ground up and done, and hope, half of them don't even make it to the majors. Half of them are just like, that's what you did. And like, did you make any money? No, but I had 18 concussions, and now I can't drive right.
Oh, most of them. There's so many of them. I used to have a different stance on this. I thought, oh, they're athletes. They're getting a college education. That's their payment. Well, when they're making all these millions of dollars off there now, everything we know about concussions, and I was listening God, I can't remember. It's one of the biggest running backs, and now his name slips my mind. But one of the biggest running backs ever. Made millions of dollars. Retired early. If anybody knows the name, put it up in the comments. Just retired, I think it was 2 years ago. But he said he wished he would have never played in the NFL, and he made near $100 million.
But they can't invest. They don't know how to invest it.
Yeah.
You know, when you're like 24 or whatever, getting out of college or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, here's a whole bunch of money." You're like, "Wow, cool." You buy a house, you buy the fancy cars, you buy your parents a house, you buy your parents fancy cars, and then tax time comes and like, "Hey, did you spend all your money?" "Yeah." "You realize you need to give us money?" "They did not teach me that in school. They just said catch ball."
There's so many of them that are so broke now. Like, yeah, you look at Allen Iverson. I mean, that guy, I don't know if you know much about Allen Iverson, but in high school and college, and I mean, he was in and out of brawls, all kinds of things. I mean, he would have been in jail if it wasn't for so many people covering for his butt. And it was no surprise that he wasted all of his money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a lot about, like I said, I don't watch football, baseball, all basketball, but I do know enough about Joe Louis, where Joe Louis was, heavyweight championship of the world, beat Max Schmeling, fought and served in World War II, did a whole bunch of stuff, and then one day, he gets out and he's playing golf or something, this tax man walks up and says, "Mr. Louis, you owe us, several $1 million. He's like, "My boy's supposed to take care of that." I was like, "Well, they didn't." And his accountant / manager was his uncle, who basically just didn't pay his taxes, didn't do all the stuff he was supposed to do. And so, Joe Louis went from being, wealthy and then to being a greeter at fucking shitty casinos in Vegas and having work, little chink-a-rink bullshit opening up supermarket jobs when he was the heavyweight championship of the world.
And that's so sad, and especially those days they didn't have social media. They couldn't have. I mean, imagine how many Twitter followers Joe Louis would have back then.
Yeah.
20 million or whatever, and you get money for signing in autograph booths and stuff. I used to think, these guys charging for the autographs too was kind of crappy, but especially the guys that didn't make any money and now they can't do anything.
Yeah, they need that money.
Yeah, they literally, they made like a normal person. A lot of some of the biggest stars out there, not a whole lot more, unless they were really good at negotiating and they were the top guy, like Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
He was obviously a really good negotiator.
But yeah, back then, if you weren't a superstar, even if you were, back in the 40s, 50s, I want to say even the 60s, you could have been on the Yankees or some other sports team I can't think of right now because I'm blanking. And you went and you played, baseball in the summer, and then, wintertime came or fall came. You went and painted houses. You worked as a mechanic. You worked at a car lot. You worked at a lumber mill.
Yeah.
That's not how it is now. You get $50 billion because you fly a ball, and you don't got to worry about dick. Back then, they had to grind and rough through it. They rode buses across the entire country to get games. They don't get flown first class and planes.
They were real
and pampered
blue-collar workers. William Refrigerator Perry, even back in the 80s, in the Super Bowl in Chicago, NFL corporate have a fund for players. NFL corporate does have a fund for players. They have a retirement plan through the NFLPA. Thanks for that comment. I don't know a whole lot about it, but you can look it up. They do have a pension plan and stuff now for some of those disabled players.
Things now, but they didn't have a lot of this back then. That's kind of why I don't feel too much sympathy for A-Rod or whatever left because they weren't paying him enough. Dude, think about what your job would have been 40 years ago.
Well, especially not in baseball where they don't have to worry about the concussions of boxing and NFL.
Yeah.
They're saying, Aaron Hernandez, the, multiple murderer guy who murdered people and then failed to take down his security systems, so he filmed the whole thing and killed himself in prison.
That was smart.
Well, they've did studies on his brain, which they've done on a lot of NFL players now for concussions, and
There's just big dents in it.
Oh yeah, they said that he had brain damage that was equal to somebody that was 60 years old.
He's reading comments if anybody
yeah,
wonders.
I have the small phone, so if you're commenting in, I see braiding nose hairs actually online. That's a new thing.
That's gross. I tweeze my shit.
Yeah, that's really strange. Yeah, thanks for that. I'll remember that in the future.
Even after I shave, I go around I'm like, okay, get that little stray guy, get that little stray guy. That didn't get enough. Clink. It just bugs me.
But no, to get back on that, the concussions, they studied Aaron Hernandez's brain. They said he had the brain damage of somebody who had played in the NFL till they were 60. He was 29, and what they found out is this really changes the impulse control that people have. So that's why a lot of, especially fighters and NFL guys, have super bad impulse controls. And now I want to look back, and one of OJ's defense, somebody that was involved in it, actually said that OJ could have had this, which is kind of like, I thought you said he was innocent.
Yeah.
And then and then he wrote that book that says,
What
you
if
know,
I
how,
did it?
yeah, and
If I did it, I'd do it this way.
yeah,
That's not suspicious juice. But yeah, no, that's totally makes sense. I mean, I've had concussions from various things. My most recent one was from a car accident, and I went to work the next day, and I thought I was fine, you know. So, and then people were like coming up to me like, "Hey, you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, why?" And I like opened my eyes and was like, "I wasn't standing here a minute ago." And they were like, I had my arm out like this, and I was reaching for something, and they were like, "What you doing?" I was like, "I was just grabbing some pistachios." And they're like, "Okay." And I went back to doing my little thing, and then I guess did something else, and they were like, you like drunk? You high? Did you show up? I mean, like my boss told me, so I was like, you messed up, man. There's something going on. I was like, no, I just got hit. I was in a car accident, and I got a little bit of a concussion, but I'm fine at work. I'm fine. He's like, you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Went back to work. Apparently, I did something else I don't remember, and they're like, okay, we're gonna. Yeah, my boss was like, take 5. I'm gonna drive you home. I'm gonna drive you home because you need to go and lie down, and we're gonna give you a couple days off. Take it easy because you're being a little weird.
Well, kudos to your boss for noticing that.
Oh yeah, he
being
was
respectful
He
about that.
was one of the coolest bosses ever because he first was like, hey man, you okay? Are you on anything right now? I was like, no man, no, I wouldn't show up to work messed up, you know that. He's like, yeah, I do know that. And then when we got home, I was like, see, there's the car there, and I pointed to the car, and he was like, oh yeah, you were in an accident because the whole front end was just smashed in and ripped off. We got like sort of like almost T-boned, but like it was just about to cross the T, so it like kind of flipped and like banged my head against the side of the window. He was like, oh, okay, and he like talked to somebody else, and I was like, yeah, you need to get him to a doctor to get him checked out, and I was like, thanks for the ride, boss, and then he just kind of like, because he drove me in my car, and then somebody tailed us, and then drove him back home. But yeah, like for the impulse control, he was like, oh yeah, I should tell the rest, but I was like, no, I got the day off, let's go to a casino. I went to a casino and like blew $200, and I don't know what game I played, how I did, but I was like, no, I'm fine, no, let's just go. And I blew $200. I have no idea, if I played slots or poker, or if I was like, I had like 20, playing blackjack, and I had 20. I was like, hit me. Like, sir, you have 20. Hit me. You have 31. Hit me.
Wow, that's crazy. I've heard that a lot from NFL players and fighters that just become addictive gamblers. They have just super impulsive controls. Dana White. The UFC, I mean, the guy's got billions of dollars now. He was president of the UFC, if people don't know who he is. He was a boxer back in the day, but he'll drop a couple $1 million in a night, and because he's just so impulsive. And a lot of that, people say, might be from concussions that he had earlier in his life, but he's actually really good at gambling. He's been kicked out of a couple casinos. Yeah, he got kicked out of, I think it was in Mandalay Bay. So he's like, oh, you want to kick me out? We won't have our fights here anymore. And they're like, no, sir, go ahead and come back. Not too late. Yeah. And then I think they might be back there now. I'm not sure, but
Mandalay Bay just has it coming from both sides on them lately.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a funny thing. It's like you can lose all the money you want, but if you start doing good, you can't come back.
Yeah, then they bring the cooler in, or back in old Vegas, if you won too much and you drove home, they'd find you out in the middle of the desert, and then they'd get their money back, and you just disappeared somewhere.
Oh yeah, back when it was run by the mobsters or whatever.
It's still run by the mob. It's just a corporate mob now.
Well, yeah, they work with the Indian casinos.
There's still got to be some like underlying mob shit in there. Like they got the contracts for like the laundry and for like the electrical and construction and all that. So they're still there. They got to be there.
Oh, especially on the East Coast, more Atlantic City, New York, Boston.
City,
a lot of that stuff. Well, Boston's not so much into the casinos, but
they got the numbers rackets. They got the machines. They got little Joey on the corner there slinging stuff and doing things.
Yeah.
Just watch Black Mass.
Yeah. Well, sorry to go back to the same guy for an example, but this is a story. Dana White actually started out as a personal trainer. He was doing boxer-sized classes and different things in a gym over there in Boston. He opened up some gyms. And the mafia came in and talked to him, and they said, whisper in his ear, and basically said, get out of town or you'll be dead within 72 hours.
Good times.
And that's why he moved to Las Vegas, and if that would have never happened, there might never be a UFC.
Yeah.
So, and all these people wouldn't have brain trauma.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't enjoy watching them gladiator style in a cage. But
I remember them saying like they used to have those like 12-ounce gloves, and they went to the standard big gloves they have now, and they're like the bigger ones do actually more damage than the
way
smaller
more.
ones now.
Well, in boxing, and they still have them, there's so much more brain damage in boxing because it's a cumulative hits. When you're getting hit with these 4-ounce gloves, I mean, basically, it's enough padding so you don't break your hand. That's the only reason
but then
they
it's
have
more
gloves.
impact being spread across the head, so you're damaging more of the Because I remember watching old stuff from like bare knuckle boxing fights where like dude would get punched in the head, it would pop his eye out, and he would just kind of like pop it back in, and they'd just keep going.
Yeah, back before the medical sanctions and all that. So I don't know if those guys lived a real long time.
Probably
before
not,
they
but
could identify
I mean,
concussions.
you stop at some point because both your hands were like, okay, I've broken these 3 fingers. I gotta stop using righty. I gotta start going for lefty. And then they're just going to be like, okay, I'm kind of done now, or at least not gonna hit as freaking hard because I need to go down to the docks tomorrow and work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, even that's Floyd Mayweather Jr. Even though he's a multimillionaire now, he was breaking his hands all the time. That's why he stopped going for knockouts in so many fights. And he got criticized for that pretty bad.
Go for the technical win.
He went after Conor McGregor a little bit in that last fight, but that was kind of a hype fight, the MMA versus boxing thing. Conor did a great job. I thought that was kind of embarrassing for Mayweather, even though Mayweather ended up winning it. But I thought that was a feather in Conor's cap.
And he did it all by being called Conor.
What's that?
And he did all that by being being called Conor.
Yeah, well, Conor McGregor, he's got a huge, the Irish fan base there. It's just amazing. Like, for the weigh-in, there was literally, I mean, all the way out to the streets. You would think that you were in Ireland.
Yeah, well, Irish following just means you're white.
But they cover the streets. I mean, they're singing the, whatever it is, the national anthem and stuff. And I mean, and they're flying all the way from Ireland to Las Vegas. It's insane.
It just kind of reminds me of that movie, The Great White Hype, with Sam Jackson and Mr. Glasses from Independence.
That was a good movie.
Jeff Goldblum. They were like, I'm not even Irish. And it just means you're white, boy. It just means you're white. We can't, because you can't be like, oh, it's the great, Johnny Two Fist, because that's racist.
Yeah. Well, Conor's pretty Irish.
Just make him Irish.
I don't think there's any argument on that.
Oh yeah, no. It's just that's what that reminds me of. Because you can't, because the majority like the heavyweight, they're all like, Dominican, or they're all of some form of African descent and big. So you can't be like, oh, it's the white guy versus the black guy. No, it's the Irish guy versus the Dominican, Manny Slamiao.
Oh yeah, that used to be how they sold the fights back then, especially the Jewish versus the Germans. That was a huge thing back in the day in boxing, and there was just boxing everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
during like a startup of World War II, there was Max Schmeling versus Joe Louis.
Well, yeah, that was the biggest thing, race bait fight ever.
It was the master race versus the mud people.
Yeah, that was a craziness. That was a crazy time that we ever.
But you know what? They became good friends.
They
became super, super good friends after that.
Yeah,
they had like no animosity towards each other. They just wanted a rematch. They fought before. Schmeling won. Yeah. And Lewis wanted a rematch, and he wanted to fight him again because I think he wasn't satisfied with the thing. I don't think they both were, so they wanted to go again. And he had to get like permission from Hitler. He had to join the Nazi party so he could get permission to go fight.
Oh, I didn't know that. That is crazy.
Yeah, and when he lost, he was like, when he won, he was like the one of the stars of Germany and all that stuff. And then he loses to the Negro, the inferior Negro man.
Oh man.
And they put him.
Can we still say that?
They drafted him into the military. And they made him like a paratrooper, and they treated him poorly after that. He like ended up broke. But then he became the face of Coca-Cola in Germany.
Well, that's good. Props out to our military people at Veterans Day coming up soon on this Sunday. I just wanted to throw that out there. We do have a new sponsor. I just want to throw out there real quick. NetSpend. It's a prepaid debit card. It's backed by Visa. If you don't have a bank or just want to get your direct deposit faster, you can get your direct deposit from work. You can get government benefits. You can get your tax return, so you don't have to have it on one of those stupid H&R Block cards that you have to wait for and pay them a bunch of fees for. Click on the referral link that I will have on this afterwards, and you'll get $20 just for saying our name. And we'll get a $20 bonus, so we'll get a couple bucks a piece for doing it. But if enough people do it, it's all you have to do. Get the card, put $40 on it. It looks to me, from what I've seen for prepaid debit cards, to be the best in low to no fees, depending on what you're doing. And if you don't have a bank, it just looks like a good alternative to me. A lot of people spending cash a lot more. Speaking of that, I don't know if I work in retail. I'm noticing a lot more cash. It's because of these new stupid debit cards with the chip. It takes so long for a transaction.
I don't like that. I would just always swipe. They're like, oh, we got a chip. And they're like, no, just swoop.
Do you still have a swipe card?
Yeah, I still have a
They
swipe
took
card.
mine away. My bank sent me a letter that says, after this date, you will no longer be able to slide. You have to put your chip in. And I'm like, oh, fine. Mark of the beast card. Thank you.
I still got a swipey on this guy here. I'm not showing you the front.
Yeah, wow, yeah. Smart move.
And here's my debit card, and it's a regular debit card. There's no little chippy chip guy on there. But my bank has sent me 2 replacements with chips, and they keep saying like, hey, here's a new card, derp, because it's supposed to expire. I gotta get it renewed on in December.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting. I'm just gonna use it until I don't have to anymore, and then because they've sent me 2, and they're just sitting there like, oh, call to activate your new card with the chip. I'm like, that card still works. I don't need to right now.
I hate it. It takes seriously to do one transaction. Sometimes there is someone in line for 5 minutes trying to pay.
Yeah, because you have to plug it in there. Like, okay, no, don't stick it in yet. Don't remove it. No, leave
always
it.
reject it.
No, pull it out. No, don't leave it. No, okay, go start again. Because I was behind an old lady having to do that the other day, and I was like, oh my god, old lady, can't you be the annoying old lady that writes a check?
Oh, and it's even worse than the checks now. It's so ridiculous. I try to carry cash on me now to keep the line moving a lot of times because it's just, I figured it out at our work. I won't say our work, but I'm scheduling 700 hours a week, so it's a pretty small business. We figured out it probably adds about 30 hours or makes 30 hours of non-productive time that we didn't have before. So thanks, Obama. No, I don't think he had much to do with it. It was under his jurisdiction, but
one of the reasons why I try and carry cash and not use my card as much is because if I just have my card, I'll just be like, oh, this, swipe. Oh, I need this, swipe. Oh, there's this, swipe. Gum, swipe. And then you pay 50 cents because your transaction wasn't over $5 and you used a swipey thing. But also, if I see money in my wallet, I can be like, okay, I have this much money. I can physically see how much money I have, so I'm like, okay, I spent that much. Oh, hey, look, I have a third of what I had before. I have half of the money I had before. Whereas a card, you're not going to think about it as easily or as much. You'll know you've got money in there. You'll kind of have an idea of, like, you have that much. But it's just so easy to go, like, oh, swick. Whereas they're like, oh, I've only got $40 left. Maybe I shouldn't buy this thing I don't really need.
Yeah.
Even though just moments ago I bought a bunch of crap I don't really need with a credit card because I was like, oh, swipe. It's easy.
Yeah, it's so easy to get into that habit. We were both talking about it. Neither one of us had credit cards till just a few years ago, and they're like, oh, yeah, you can't get a credit card because you don't have credit, and then you get your credit card and you're just inundated with all these offers. And
Yeah. And they're all like, oh, super duper high interest.
Oh, yeah, 28.4% interest. Oh, yeah, don't worry about it. And if you have a late payment, not considered actually late at 10 days, we'll add $30 fee to that or whatever. Sponsored by NetSpend. Thanks, Visa.
Yeah, exactly. You won't spend money you don't have.
Yeah.
Because when you run out, it'll just say no.
Yeah. No, I like having cash in my wallet, even though, a lot of times you can't use it. You're going online or whatever. I don't think this chip thing's any more secure than the slide thing we had before. I've already heard about technology that people can come by with their phone and just do something, and they can just steal everything off of your card.
Yeah.
That's why they're giving you these stupid little holders.
The RF blockers, futzer things that probably.
Who knows if that even works? I don't know if anybody's ever tested that. If anybody knows if that works, let us know in the comments. But
then there used to be it was a Kickstarter campaign thing I learned about watching Rooster Teeth thing where it's kind of like, it was like this credit card that you could load all your credit cards onto. It was kind of like Apple Pay or something like that.
Oh wow, that sounds super secure.
But like you could put like your Visa, your Mastercard, your whatever, and you could just take it anywhere, and all you had to do was like you'd tap it on like a little reader, you'd swipe it, and it was supposed to be able to like have all your accounts and stuff on it. And it was like Kickstarter thing, like maybe like 6 people got the cards and nobody was taking them. And they tried using them like all over wherever they're like one place finally fucking used it. It was the most obscure little shop. They're like, oh, this one worked. And they're like, just totally regretted doing it, totally regretted funding it. And it's just not even a thing anymore.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I'm not even a real big fan of like the Apple Pay and the Samsung, but definitely not the fingerprint thing. That's getting scary. There's schools now. I did a video on this. If you look through my videos, there's schools now that are requiring students, as from elementary all the way to college, requiring them to give them their fingerprint to buy their school lunches. That just sounds heinous to me. That's pretty disgusting. And now you're forever tracked on the system.
Are they worried about them like doubling up, like, you know, little fat Tommy's going to go round two for some square pizza? Or
well, what they say is, oh, now these little kids don't have to keep, you know, they don't have to keep track of the card, they can't lose it, and all this stuff. Oh, now what happens when somebody breaks into this secure database and steals everybody's fingerprints? And now
that'd be funny.
Somebody's gonna figure out, they're gonna be smart enough, they're gonna make some kind of app, or they're gonna make some kind of device for your phone, and they're gonna be able to steal all these fingerprints. Then they're gonna be able to go and just set this phone down, and they're gonna be able to buy whatever they want.
Yeah, but there's just gonna be like 10 million like old 8-year-olds with credit cards in their names.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think it's the most ridiculous idea.
Jeremy, did you buy a yacht? Our darling. Yeah. Well, it seems you did. We've gotten a bill for it. You're going into the punishment hole with your sister.
But I mean, how is that not a violation of the Fourth Amendment, making people give their fingerprints away?
Yeah, like next they're just gonna like want DNA swabs from everybody in the fucking country so they can catalog us all in case, you know.
Well, it's coming. Retina scan or...
I don't mind retina scan because that's at least like cool stuff you see in movies where like you do your retina scan like in this big circular metal door twists and unlocks and then bars come up and then you're in Cerebro from X-Men. You're like, oh, that's pretty neat. I could see having a retina thing for that. But
and I think that's how they get the younger people and a lot of middle-aged people is they make it really cool in movies like Transformers and different things. Oh, check out this technology. This is really cool. Oh, now I feel like my superhero putting my fingerprint in this thing and paying. Isn't this cool? Well, I'm giving everyone all my information my entire life.
But you shouldn't have to do that for like soda machine, Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Now I have cancer in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one thing. I'm going to be suing the government for everyone losing their eyeballs. Oh, we'll just make you new ones. Now with this new stem cell injections and CRISPR and all this stuff. You can just make new eyes.
I could go for the new set of eyes. My eyes are getting worse and also look better without glasses.
Yeah. I'm ugly either way, and I can't see a damn thing now. But yeah. Yeah, I could use a new set of eyes. I got these new bifocals, and because never before I couldn't see things far away. Well, then I started having difficulty seeing things close. So I get the bifocals, and I have to take the bifocals off to see things close.
Yeah, like my dad got like laser eye surgery. He got some sort of like when they put like lenses underneath your thing or whatever. He had corrective surgery for whatever. He was like, oh, I can see far away really great now, but like up close, like here, it's like, oh, it's all fuzzy and weird. And I'm like, well, that was your choice. They still haven't really perfected this science, and everybody's just like, no, just shove lasers in my eyes and fix it.
How long ago was it he had it?
It was this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And he's having issues, huh?
His issues are like the up closey part, like far away and like bright lights.
Well, once you start getting older, and they say that it'll work good until you get older and you have to have cataracts removed.
I think that's what he had some cataracts, or not necessarily cataracts, but like floaters. Whatever you call them, the little floaty guys. He had like a bunch of those floating around there. So he had to scrape those out, and they put in some lenses, and they sewed his eyes open.
Yeah, man.
Or just sewed them on there.
That's crazy. Yeah, no, I've really thought about having the laser eye surgery, and basically it's just been a finance thing. If my insurance had paid for it, I'd already gotten it by now.
Yeah, I just don't like the fact that you're conscious for it. I don't really like the idea of like, okay, I'm going to watch you cut my eye open.
Well, especially when it's your eye and you're like looking at it. I mean, it's kind of hard not to look at it when when it's an actual place you see out of.
I mean, can't they put like the Clockwork Orange eye clamps in and just like knock you out so your eye's just kind of like there? I mean, if my eyes roll up in the back of my head, fine. Just like roll it back down, put a little pin in it, whatever. Because I'm gonna be out. I don't care. As long as I'm out, and I don't feel it. Do what you want. If you're just gonna make me have 20/20 vision or laser eyes or
That was a good movie, Clockwork Orange.
Clockwork Orange. Very good movie. I love a bit of the old Ultraviolet.
Yeah, 1984. I was very unimpressed with the movie. I couldn't stand the movie. It was a good book, but I didn't think the movie did it justice. I don't know if you ever watched the movie.
What, 1984?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've read the book Orwell.
Yeah, I didn't like the movie at all. They need to redo that one, but it's like, come on, guys, this was a book. It wasn't a blueprint for the future. It seems like they're just copying these things down. Now, oh, what should we do next? Oh, next we'll take in their information, their fingerprints, and we will have them like this new Google Home. device that you can, tell it to turn on your lights, your TV, or whatever. Did you see the thing where that one was recording everything this guy said?
No, I didn't see that.
He was able to go back and look in transcripts, and he knew because it was recording everything that the television was saying. So it was keeping track of everything he said. So basically, he paid for this thing to put it in his house for Google to bug him. And of course, Google's like, oh, we didn't realize this bug or whatever. We're going to fix this right away. Anybody who has it, turn it back and just download this new firmware and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I think maybe a little BS on that one.
One, I'd rather have an Amazon Echo because I like the Alexa thing because it looks cooler because also it's black and has the blue glowy light and I'm a fan of aesthetics, so I like that better. Dude, how do we know that all of our devices, like even the phone in my pocket, aren't secretly tapping us right now to some NSA data mining farm?
Oh, I'm sure. For the things that we know about, probably I would imagine for everything that we know about, there's 10 things that we don't.
Well, I know that there's this thing where whenever the president travels and he goes somewhere, within like a 10-mile radius, they monitor all communication traffic.
Yeah.
And in a big circly bubble around where he is. So if you live in D.C. and you're within 10 miles of the White House, they're listening into your conversation without a doubt.
Oh, that's not surprising.
And they have the how do we know that there's just not some passive phone, little chip or wire on all our phones that are just constantly just on? And it's all just being recorded, and there's a team of data farm miners with headphones on, just listening to this right now, or when I call order a pizza.
Well, everybody's listening to this because we put it out there for them.
Or when I drunk dial an ex, and I'm like, I'm sorry about stuff. I'll massage your feet. And just things I don't want other people to hear, but it's somewhere in some file, just we gotta keep it a war on terror. What is that terror?
Oh yeah, and that's why the Patriot Act, that was basically the end of the Fourth Amendment. In the name of terrorism, we're going to listen to everything you say for the rest of your life.
The Patriot Act killed the Constitution so that it could make us freer.
Oh yeah, they like to name these things that take away all our rights. Really good names.
Homeland Security, because they can't call it, the Gestapo for America.
Yeah, the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
It didn't make my insurance real affordable.
Scissors.
Yeah. So thanks to Bush and Obama.
I hate you, George W. Bush.
Bipartisan bashing there.
I liked you, Mr. Obama. I voted for you once. I couldn't do it the first time, but I did the second.
I didn't vote for him either time, but I definitely couldn't the second because I felt that his presidency was really marked by the failure of the Obamacare, and I just couldn't stand the way that it was shoved down our throats.
Whether your politics, America, go for the lesser of two evils. I mean, for Christ's sakes, McCain, Palin, just listen to Sarah Palin talk for 5 minutes, and if you really still think I'm a Republican, gotta go for my base, then you have less sense than a sack full of hammers at the bottom of a river covered in elephant shit.
But McCain was kind of this middle of the road war hero.
McCain was kind of moderate. He wasn't very right wing. I got I don't have an issue with John McCain. He was a war hero. He fought in a war and was a POW. It doesn't necessarily mean he's a hero. It doesn't necessarily mean he wasn't. It's always one of the things I always banter back and forth. If you were in the war and you're running for something, they're like, "Oh, you were a hero." JFK was a war hero because he kept his crew alive after their boat got cut in half by a Japanese destroyer. That's kind of a war hero. John McCain was flying a thing and everything, got shot down. Kudos, he survived the Hanoi Hilton and survived, and he remembered all the names of all the guys that were there so that when he got out they could debrief him. But
well, here's what makes him.
There's guys that did a bunch of other shit and went through worse shit than John McCain did, and no one's calling them heroes. Yeah,
but here's what makes him a hero to me is because of who his dad was very important. They're like, okay, we got this guy. They were kind of crapping their pants, like, oh, we got this guy. We have to let him go. And he's like, I'm not leaving unless you let all my men go. And they're like, well, we're not letting everyone go. So we stayed.
Yeah, well, they weren't he wasn't the commanding officer of the guys there.
But that to me was very admirable.
I know. It's admirable. It's very admirable.
Yeah.
I have a big thing and a soft spot for POWs. My grandfather was a POW. Fought in Korea. My dad fought in Nam.
Oh, wow.
So I've got nothing but respect for our servicemen and what they did. But they always they called John Kerry a fucking traitor for throwing his swift boat medals over the White House fence. But you know what? He served his thing, and if he wants to do with his medal what he wants to do with it, that's fine. There have been Medal of Honor winners who, once they got out of the thing, they were so fucking broke they had to pawn their Medal of Honor. And
Yeah.
you'd see it in a way. And how sad is it for that guy? He's been awarded the country's highest honor,
Yeah.
and we're not taking care of him, and he's broke. So he's like, "How much will you give me for this?" And the pawn shop guy probably gave him like $5 and a pint of a liquor.
Yeah, that's a super sad thing. Like that's worse than athletes that sell their gold medals, because those guys really earned those things where they got shot, saw people die, saved people's lives, and we're paying them like 40 grand a year. All of a sudden, well, this guy's catching a stupid football and he's complaining that he's only making $20 million a year.
Oh, poor you! You have to get you can't get the brand new Ferrari.
Yeah, it's like, come on.
You can only afford one gold-plated toilet in your 3-story mansion in Miami.
Yeah, honestly, I think in the next 20 years we're getting close to, if not the end of sports, sports being thought of in a lot different
I think
situation, because there's just so many more options out there. We used to only have 3 flipping channels, and 2 of them
Yeah.
would have football on their own side.
Yeah, and if you lived up north next to Canada, you had hockey night in Canada, which is why my dad got into hockey, because there's no football or baseball to watch because it's winter. But there's hockey.
And I like hockey, but I don't care about if they score, and I only like it live, like the semi-pro, because I just like to see guys get
Fights.
bashed into the glass.
Yeah, it is
That's
fun.
that's my favorite part.
If
is
you
checking.
ever been to gone to an actual hockey game, it's great being next to the boards when somebody just gets bashed in there. Because you really
yeah.
do feel the vibration, and it's fun.
Yeah, that's really my favorite part. Anybody watching this that's not subscribed to the channel, if you could please subscribe to the channel. This is one of the reasons we want to do this live thing, to increase our subscribers. It helps us increase our revenue, and hopefully makes it to where we won't have to film on an iPhone forever, or we can get more sponsors, or actually at least pay for Brian's gas to get here. I mean, you think he's driving about 100 miles, and he's
round trips like 80 something to get here, so it's a thing.
Yeah, and the traffic here is horrific. So
Traffic does suck.
So if you cannot,
Plus I'm unemployed right now. I'm looking for work, so any little bit could help.
yeah, if you can.
If you want to start a Kickstarter to get a little old me some money, I'd sure love me a Jaguar.
Yeah, and when we get up to
I just like a full tank of gas and like to get a new pair of shoes.
when we get up to 200 subscribers, I want to start a Patreon account. I think right now it's pretty. We're over 100 now. I think it's pretty senseless to do it now. Over 200 subscribers, we start a Patreon account, and hopefully.
I'd like to eat a
get a
hot
little more
meal that
funding
didn't
for
come
this.
out of a can.
Send us your food.
There you go.
Yeah. No, but a lot more people are doing this kind of thing now, and I think people are starting to learn that work isn't just back-breaking producing, and at $12 an hour you can work as hard as you want, and you're never going to be rich.
No.
Kudos to my dad. If you're watching right now, I mean, he's had multiple surgeries: shoulder surgery, bicep surgery. I mean, the guy is like given his soul to the company that he works for, and I mean, he hasn't, probably hasn't been fairly compensated. I mean, no matter how many hours he works and no matter how hard he works, I mean, it's not gonna make you a millionaire. I'm so thankful for everything, that he did growing up, and it made it nice. I don't know if you had a stay-at-home mother. It was really nice I had a stay-at-home mom, and I don't think very many people get that nowadays.
Yeah.
Anybody. I mean, my mom, she did our laundry. She cooked all of our meals. I mean, it was, I didn't appreciate it, of course, until I'm older, and it's like, now this kind of sucked. Me and my wife are working 50, 60 hours a week, and we're running kids to all different kinds of sports and to the high schools, and, all these things, and it's like, it would just be really nice if, my wife were able to stay home and take care of some of these things.
Yeah, I mean, I was basically raised by a single mother. My father worked in the maritime industry, and he was like gone, like 7-8 months out of the year. So he'd like pop home for 2 weeks, then be gone a month. Pop home for a month, be gone for 3. So she essentially raised me by herself, because he was barely ever there, and then when he was there, he was drunk and he was beating on me or he was beating on her. So it was like, yeah. Love you too, Daddy. Now it's time for you to go the fuck away again, because we're tired of you and I need some bruises to heal.
Oh, jeez, I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. Tooth Fairy visited a lot for a while, so I was like, yay, $1. Every time Daddy shows up, I get another $1 because a tooth goes away.
Oh, man. Well, now we're gonna have a therapy session for Ryan. So how does that make you feel? No, no, he's like, no.
Patricidal?
Yeah.
I don't care for my father, but I've made peace with that. I tolerate him, and then one day I will finally get to either put him in a home or pull the plug on him. So I look forward to that.
Well, that's
Drink your juice, father.
that's a sad way to have to feel, but
there's no normal, so everybody's got their own experience.
Oh, they do. Everybody has their skeletons. Everybody had their things that they went through.
Yeah, his dad was a dick. His biological father was a dick, and he drank himself to death. And he had a stepdad. Then he had a bunch of fucking half siblings, so he's got a chip on his shoulder about all that shit. So and he just didn't know how to be a father, and that's not an excuse, but it's like I understand, kind of why he's fucked up, and he sucks, and he's stupid, and abusive, and an idiot, and ignorant, and dumb, and a total selfish jackass. And plug the goddamn toaster oven back in when you're grinding your damn coffee in the morning. Pisses me off. but I get where he's coming from, because one of the things is that we're very similar, except I basically was like raised by my mom, so I kind of have that like. My brain works kind of like a chick's does, which means I have this Rolodex of all the shit that everybody's forgotten, where I can like just pull up something from 10 years ago. I'm like, no, remember when you said this? You were wearing that blue shirt with those black jeans and those blue shoes? And I'm like, oh shit. So I kind of have, so I get where he's coming from, and I get where he's, but I can able to like step back from it, like that's behavior I do as well, but I choose not to be a total douchebag.
Yeah. You saying women have better memories?
They just have a good card catalog of whenever you fucked up or done something wrong or it says something to piss them off. It's like the fucking part of the Matrix where where he says, "I need guns, lots of guns," and just all those shelves come out of nowhere, and it's just like miles and miles of racks of weapons. That's what women have in their heads for anything you've ever done wrong, anything you said that pissed them off.
This is very true. My wife remembers things from like 20 years ago. She's like, remember when you said this at this restaurant and you proposed to me at Taco Bell?
And you had the 3-piece combo meal, but they didn't give you enough of the green sauce?
Yeah.
You're like, I thought we got married at Dairy Queen. No,
yeah.
We didn't. Yeah, I basically have that in my head, which is a blessing and a curse, because sometimes I'm just like, I just don't want to care. But I'm like, no, filed away, sorry.
Yeah,
if you're a relative or somebody I know, don't get in an argument with me, because as much as you try and like cut my legs out from under me, I have card catalogs and miles and miles and miles of computer data just full of, oh, you want to go nuclear? I can go nuclear. You haven't even set a plane off yet. I have bombers coming.
My wife wants to get remarried. Like the marriage isn't. I love my wife, but the wedding part of it is like. I know women love it, but for guys, it's like.
Okay, I gotta spend this money again.
And then you're going to be. I don't like being the center of attention. It's like, oh, we need to redo our wedding again. And I would admit, our wedding was somewhat horrible. Like during the toast, a bird crapped on my hand and on the glass. That was kind of funny. One of her friends went out, you throw birdseed. She's like, oh, I'm going to get a discount. She bought these bags at 25 cents, jalapeno birdseed. So literally they were throwing it out and kids are rubbing their eyes and they're turning red and they're crying. People are crying at our wedding, but it's not.
Fun.
It's not because they're happy. Everybody's in suits and it's 100 degrees outside in Reading. Yeah, it was. I'll admit there was some interesting things, but I think it just gives you better stories to tell later, honestly.
That's true.
I like things like that later on. Sometimes it might not be fun at the time.
My folks eloped to Reno because my mom's parents didn't have enough money to spend on a wedding, and she didn't want to make them pay for it.
I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, and my dad's just a cheap motherfucker, so I was like, oh, I can go to Reno and gamble and drink, and we can get married. So they were like, okay, and then they renewed their vows, and I was like 11 or 12 in a church, and that's when I finally got baptized, to save my father's soul. So they renewed their vows. They didn't get remarried. They renewed them for whatever goddamn reason. Even though I was doing mommy, no, divorce, please. Divorce should happen. It's for the best for all of us.
But you grew up in the Catholic Church, right?
I was raised Catholic, but the whole going to church and Sunday shit stopped after only so long, and then I was just back to whatever. Because my dad was brought up Irish Catholic and all that, Station of the Cross, confession, bullshit, whatever.
I know so many Catholics that ends up being atheist.
Well, the frustration is I was it's a funny joke.
I haven't seen that
Right
T-shirt, but
I'll make one.
well, yeah, I don't know how many that would sell, but we do need to make some shirts out there. Anybody want to see anything on a shirt on there? Let us know that you're there. Let us know. I was thinking something that would sell really well for Sundays.
I designed this shirt.
Huh? Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nice.
It had boobies.
Sorry, Mom. My mom's really sensitive about that stuff. She's probably tuned out right now.
Mine's
the
not,
Ryan's
actually.
potty mouth.
My grandfather used to have like all sorts of. He had like a little workshop in the
Hi,
basement.
Mom.
And he had tons of Playboy centerfolds just hung up on the wall everywhere.
Oh, wow.
And so, and like, she's just like not phased. She's like, oh, okay, nudity. I'm not bothered. She is a little bit of a prude, so like nudity doesn't bother her, but like sexual stuff bugs her. Like, if there's like a love scene in a movie, she's like, I just am not comfortable with that. I'm like, okay, so Titties McGee over there doesn't bug you, but the fake movie, kind of makes you a little squirming. It doesn't make sense to me. It's kind of like one or the other. I mean, you can either like hate it all or don't. I just don't get it.
Yeah, my parents are a little more conservative when it comes to stuff like that.
Everybody's different, different strokes to move the world.
Yeah, but just what's out there in society now, what was considered conservative 20 years ago is definitely not the same as what you see now.
No.
I mean, you can't even watch a kid's show without them pushing some kind of agenda on you.
Yeah, there's always like, these days should be like, oh, learn to read, it's fundamental, and now it's like accepting all cultures, and, But then there's also like more like subversive, and I don't mean subversive in a bad way, just kind of like subversive subtext, like a little adult humor in there, because like kids are watching, but the adults are watching with the kids, so let's throw them a little bone in there, because the kid's not going to get it for like 20 years. Yeah. But mom and dad, whoever's going to sit there's going to like, oh, they'll get the little fun reference there that nobody fucking gets, that are still being bottle fed, or even if you're 10.
Yeah, and that's been going on in cartoons for a while, even since the Looney Tunes. Well, remember way back, they would be smoking and drinking.
Oh, they'd be smoking. They'd be like, they'd basically be like in burlesque clubs and shit. And then they got toned like way down. Because like because when cartoons, like you go to a movie theater to watch cartoons. Yeah. If nobody remembers that. And it was more like the cartoons they were never intended for children. It was always just like, hey, this is in between the movie or whatever, and then it's like, oh, hey, there's Wolfie the Wolf, and like, oh, there's sexy hot wolf chick with and she's singing and doing kind of like a burlesque sultry striptease thing. And then like the 50s,
that was just Bugs Bunny dressed up as like 17 different characters.
And then like the 50s happened, that whole like conservatism kind of like shrink-a-dink hat and tie America showed up, and it became like the Flintstones and the Jetsons, and everything kind of became very like goofy cartoony, but like kid-friendly cartoony.
Yeah,
even though Shaggy and Scooby were stoned off their fucking gourds.
And all that stuff, was kind of unspoken and subliminal.
Yeah.
And I love Scooby-Doo. I love watching it with my kids. The last, we're already on low power mode. I should have charged my phone more earlier.
And then
we'll see how far this goes.
Then the 80s happened, and it was like commercials. It was like Transformers, G.I. Joe, Thundercats. It was basically commercials for toys. And that's what most cartoons are now, are just commercials for toys. Oh,
and violence was definitely okay.
G.I. Joe, they had like...
swear, but G.I. Joe, how many people did they kill in an episode of G.I. Joe?
A lot, but what they didn't use... G.I. Joe didn't get to use bullets, it was red and blue lasers. So I was like, choom, choom, choom. So it was like, they're just being stunned. And here's the thing I remember from cartoons, because I was listening to a commentary on a Superman cartoon, The Adventures of Superman, done in the late 90s by Warner Brothers. Written and done by Bruce Timm and stuff. They were saying like basically Superman, he can destroy and rip apart robots all he wants and like monsters, but you can't have him like beating the crap out of people. You can't have him like tearing like an alien's head off. But a robot, you can just rip his skeleton out and beat that to death. But a monster, he's got to like punch through a wall. The monster's still got to be like kind of okay. You can't show blood, but he can be like, oh, I'm dazed. But he can just rape through a fucking ton of Terminators and just be fine. That all the violence is okay, but as long as you don't show any blood.
Yeah.
That's what it takes actually. That's why like a lot of the Bond movies are PG-13, because people get shot, but you don't see any blood when they get shot.
Yeah.
So he can be like, pew, 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 pew. They just fall over. And there's no blood. But, oh, yeah, he got shot in the head. There would be no blood there.
But the sexual promiscuousness of Bond, that was celebrated of the time. It might not have been as blatant, but it's like everybody wanted to be James Bond.
Oh, yeah.
The martini, shaken, not stirred.
I wanted the Aston Martin, the nice gray suit, and to, bang pussy galore up the fart box, actually.
Oh, my mom definitely tuned out now. Sorry, Mom.
Just a surprise, like, well, hello, Pushy. You've got a surprise coming for you, by the way. You won't expect this.
Is it almost time for church yet?
Whenever I go near a church, I start to tingle. If I step near the door, I start kind of burning. Spilled holy water on myself once, and I still have a scar from that.
They actually like sprinkle you with holy water in the Catholic Church, right?
I think so. Yeah, when I got like baptized, they dunked my head in like a baptismal font.
Oh yeah, I got baptized in the Baptist church. It's a little different. They don't call holy water, but you're fully submerged.
Don't they like make you go like to a body of water and everybody's like singing on like
I think that's Southern. That's Southern Baptist. Yeah, that's Southern Baptist. They're a little more.
That sounds like it'd be fun actually.
Emotional.
I'm not like a big churchgoer, but like if everybody's like yeah, singing and having fun, and we're in a pool, because like I mean, that sounds like that'd be something fun, or at least I'd be like, I wouldn't hate going to. But whenever I've gone to like Catholic Mass or Lutheran thing or whatever, and everybody's like, and they're like, and now we will sing from Psalm, and everybody's like, oh, Jesus. Everybody's like, no one wants to be there, but down the Southern Baptists are all like, hack that, Lord, bring me up to the clouds.
Oh, Southern Baptists are so happy. When I was in the Air Force in basic training, they didn't have a regular Baptist church, but they had the Southern Baptist church, and I basically talked everybody in my flight into going there.
Person.
Yeah, no. There were a lot in my flight. There were a lot in the military there, but that brought us together like more than anything. By the end, I mean, we're full-grown men, and we're hugging, we're crying. I mean, it definitely broke up the monotony of it's Pentecostal, but
right.
It definitely broke up the monotony of being yelled at and told what scum you were while you're running as fast as you can, and don't drink your water out of the bottle while you're walking, and all that crap that's in the military. But Pentecostal, that's a scary one. That scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, because they look like a snake hand and speaking in tongues and like.
Have you ever been to a Pentecostal church?
No, but I've seen like a lot of documentaries. Also, speaking of religion, Peter Popoff, the televangelist guy who does that shit.
Oh yeah.
You need to be shot in the back of the head. I'm sorry, that whole. I mean, I was watching infomercials like he sent me to Holy Oils and I got $16,000. I prayed and he said I would get it. You're supposed to like anoint you send a picture of your foot or you trace your foot. It's this whole horrible fucking. I watched
big scam to get a bunch of money.
Yeah, I watched documentaries like you send out these like things that you send them back. It's like a big pyramid scheme for a church thing, and it's just this is a son of a bitch who's preying on the weak-minded and people that believe in their faith and whatever.
Like Joel
and he's
Osteen.
just this snake oil salesman that just should be. Someone needs to come up, like drive behind him in a car with a baseball bat and just pop him in the back of the head because he just is a horrible human being.
Yeah. Well, I
hate those like pop-up tent revival preacher things. They're like, give us your money, buy your way to heaven. We need this big giant glass and gold-plated church, so we must best serve our Lord. Like, no, you don't. You can be on a soapbox under a tent.
And that's much different.
And a tent from Big Five, not a big like giant parade tent.
Yeah, and that's much different than the church, to me, when I was growing up, the Baptist church made a very positive impact in my life. But nobody was asking me for money. I actually heard this preacher. He was on the radio and he's on YouTube. I can't remember his name, but he's a black preacher. And he actually said, every time you donate to me, it gives Satan a black eye. And I thought, wow, there should be lightning come from heaven and just kill you right now.
He's got like a private jet. He's got like a Rolls Royce. He's got a Rolex, and like a $5,000. I think I've seen the guy you're talking about. And there's a whole phone book of these guys just all across the country and almost every
non-profit
state.
cults.
A lot of them in the Bible Belt because that's just the Bible Belt.
Colts, and I'm not even talking about Republican and Democrats yet, but
yeah, and I haven't even gone on about the Mormons.
And I know Ryan said he wants to stay away from politics, but
I don't mind politics.
Yeah, just like I said, I mean, I don't like put myself in any group. If I have to group myself somewhere, I guess it'd be libertarian. But even some of the things they do is not my favorite. But just the idea that you have to join this group, everybody believes in this, everybody believes in that. Yeah. Well, I don't think you mind saying like, we both have, I think, some more liberal and more conservative views between the both of us. It's like I have some liberal social views, but I also believe in the Second Amendment. Don't touch my guns. I want to be able to have them. I want to be able to be part of the NRA. And, because because you don't believe that gays should be killed for trying to be married doesn't mean that you can't own a gun.
Yeah.
It's just stupid. And they group all these things together. Oh, you don't believe in abortion? Well, you have to believe in this and this and this. And here's your list of it. It becomes a religion again.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's a religion. It's a cult.
It's ridiculous.
And I think a lot of that's being exposed right now. You see a lot of the hypocrisy. I love some of these guys in the hypocrisy that expose themselves, like Mitch McConnell pushed for years and years and years against drugs, and then he's taken like $100 million from his father-in-law, and all of a sudden they investigate his father-in-law's boat and find millions of dollars of cocaine hidden where there's supposed to be coal.
It's always like that.
And nothing ever happens to him.
Yeah, it's always that like one right-wing guy who's like pushing like he's against gay marriage, he's against gays and whatever. And then they find him like in his closet sealed up in a latex wetsuit with a dildo up his ass and a belt around his neck. And it's like, this was the right-wing conservative congressman such and such who proposed banning gay marriage and banning gays from serving in the military and banning gays from everywhere. And then you find his Rolodex, and it's all for just like twink boy fucking call-out prostitution centers and escort services.
Elliot Spitzer.
Yeah.
Elliot Spitzer was, he was one of the biggest guys cracking down in prostitution on New York, and then they find out, he was getting a bunch of prostitutes. And he actually did a lot of really good things and had a lot of dirt on exposing a lot of other people, but that was all lost in the fact that he was a giant hypocrite.
Yeah, it's always the dog barking the loudest about something that's actually the one that like really, really wants it to happen.
Yeah. Well, look at Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby is like your black father, and it was your black father that was drugging everyone and molesting them.
It's like, if anybody's ever seen the film Stalag 17 with William Holt and a bunch of, it's a good World War II film. It was like done like in the 50s, black and white. The guy that used to do Unsolved Mysteries, Peter Graves.
Oh, I love that guy.
Basically, they're all in a POW camp, and there's this one guy who's a POW, but he's actually a German spy in there.
Oh, wow.
And, at one point, William Holden gets accused of being, like, the spy and reporting to the Germans, so they beat the shit out of him. And then he comes back, and he's, like, smoking a cigarette, he's all bruised up, and he's talking to his little buddy in there who's still helping him out. He's like, I know who did it, because you know why? He was the one that hit me the hardest. And it ends up being Peter Graves. They find him out, and they get him taken care of.
I'm going to have to watch the movie just for Peter Graves. That guy can make anything sound so serious.
He does. In fact, he very much does.
I want to see him advertised for, like, Snickers.
You're
not yourself.
I want to see him advertised for AshleyMadison.com. Are you bold?
I think that got shut down.
Are you bold with your housewife?
Oh, my God.
Would you like anonymous sex with a stranger? Come join us on Unsolved Mysteries.
I think he's a pretty conservative guy. But, I used to love Unsolved Mysteries as a kid, but it scared me more. That and America's Most Wanted scared me more than any horror movie.
It was creepy.
Oh, I would lock the door. I'd be looking under my bed before I went to bed. That to me, I could watch Friday the 13th and Freddy Krueger all day, but watch an episode of America's Most Wanted, it's like, so we live 2 blocks from the Washington State Penitentiary, and sometimes people would escape, so that to me kind of scared me more than anything.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, we were real close. I remember a few more blocks, but like I remember I would take the bus as the Valley Transit, and we'd literally stop for like 10 minutes in front of the penitentiary. It's like, who are we picking up?
Yeah.
So you're just picking up people that are visiting people in the prison. So then we went to school with all these people that had people in prison, and that's how I learned to get beat up a lot, because it was just all these crime families. But, and then I learned how to fight, and I started punching people in the face and got in a lot of trouble.
The towns surrounding like a prison or a jail or whatever are always full of like the townies, the guards that work there who are like also other townies that just, again, they were too dumb to pass the Army's physical. The cops wouldn't take them, and McDonald's wasn't hiring, so they became prison guards.
I would have became a guard there, though. I mean, they paid really well. They paid $20 an hour back in the 90s.
Pay is good, but
starting.
Yeah, it's true. You got all that stuff to deal with, and you can either be one of those guys that's just, I'm just collecting a paycheck, I'm doing a job, or you can be one of those overzealous douchebags who just decide to I mean, watch Gattaca, for Christ's sakes. Watch The Green Mile. There's always that Percy fucker. You take him down the line, boss. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do the dry sponge. I want to see him cook. There's always that little motherfucker everywhere. Those people exist, and they're the ones that should be just fucking cattle whipped and have like a stainless steel revenge dildo show.
Well, yeah, and those kinds of cops that make other cops look bad, like the guy. I'm sure you've seen the guy that made this lady take blood for absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, Smith says still paying $20 an hour. So you can see, our economy was the best in 1999. It still hasn't surpassed then. But,
Clinton was president in '99, and God Messiah, do I miss those years.
I hate NAFTA.
No,
We'll agree to disagree on this.
I like Clinton for the broad scope of things he did, as opposed to disliking him for individual things I might not agree with. And also, we had a surplus. We had a national surplus as opposed to a deficit.
Well, you kind of had to have a surplus when we were making all these deals with Canada and Mexico and stuff. And I mean, I'm not saying you didn't do things that had a positive effect, like the Brady Bill. I think was The Brady Bill was awesome because I think it was something even pro-gun people could get behind because it was so sensible. It was like, wait 5 days before you buy a gun. You're thinking about killing somebody? Just wait 5 days.
It's for a handgun. Because that's ironic how I think it's a little bit ridiculous. Because I can't have the handgun, but I can go buy the M4 with the 30-round magazine, and I can buy as many magazines as I want. But the handgun that fires 6 shots, I gotta wait 5 days for. Okay, I'll come back for this in 5 days, but pull that down off the rack and 1,000 rounds, please. I'm very angry at my coworkers. No, I'm not a postal official. I work for FedEx.
Very true, very true. And that's where we get that mix of the Second Amendment rights and
that's also
protecting our citizens.
That's also why I think the whole 18 and 21 thing is bullshit. At 18, you can vote, you can smoke, you can buy a rifle. At 21, you can drink and buy a handgun.
Huh.
So, okay, so yeah, give the pissed off teenager, the shotgun and the rifle. But, wait till he's 21 before he can, buy a beer and have a fucking, Colt 45.
I don't think you should be able to buy a gun until you're at least 21. Your frontal lobe doesn't even develop until you're 25 years old. There's no way an 18-year-old should be walking around with their own gun. That's ridiculous.
I used to go hunting. And I also used to,
Well, if you're hunting, with your parents or whatever, and that's a whole different...
Oh, yeah.
That's a whole different civilization. You earn the respect of the gun and, real responsible gun owners as opposed to the ones that just leave their guns laying around for the 4-year-olds to shoot themselves in the head.
Well, yeah, that's
totally different people.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I graduated high school, usually people get a suit or a car or some sort of ring. I got a shotgun.
Yeah.
And it wasn't new. It was this was your great grand uncle's. I was like, okay, thanks for this. I'm such white trash. I come from such white trash. I have, thank you, this will go great. I'll put a gun rack in the back of my Camaro. This will just look awesome. I need some Confederate flag. I need one Confederate flag mud flap and one reclining naked lady mud flap.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, is there any redeeming value to the Confederate flag now, or is it just completely a sign of racism? I don't know.
It looks like an inverted British flag, with some stars on it.
I just think of the Dukes of Hazzard when I see it.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get that image out of my head.
And I've always thought, Dukes of Hazzard, they have the General Lee. We need to have cars for various. We need a car for the North called the General Grant, which is make it like a Chevy fucking Chevy, like a Chevelle with American flag melding across the side. Germany should have a fucking a Volkswagen or a Mercedes that's just red with the big circle, spidery guy on top there called the Rommel, the General Rommel. Britain can get a fucking one of those black mini cabs called the fucking General Montgomery.
Oh, there you go.
Japan can have a Toyota that says General Tojo on it. And then we get them all together and we have them race. We have this big.
What about Custer? Does he just have a machine gun on the front, or is it just bow and arrow on the side?
The downfall of Custer was the fact that he had 3 Gatling guns that he decided that he didn't need because they were going through rough terrain. It's it'll take too much time, it'll slow us down. Let's leave these behind. And those were the fateful last words of Custer, because if he'd had those 3 Gatlings, it wouldn't be there would be no Custer's Last Stand. There'd just be a lot less Indians and one more more guys named Custer.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
What I'm getting is we get cars from all over the country. Everybody gets a car. The Russians get some really crappy Hugo or whatever the fuck it is they make, and it can be the General. I don't know, Stalin, not Stalin, but some, and that's how we settle disputes. We don't wars. We just have races, and we race all the cars like wacky racers.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. They still have, talking to Stalin though, he's not thought of in near the same way as Hitler. And I mean, he
No.
wasn't as bad, but you got Stalin statues all over Russia.
He killed more people than Hitler. He
Way
killed
more.
Way more. Billy, he like basically let half his country starve to death because he just didn't give a shit. But yeah, they still have tons and tons of Soviet. I mean, what's one of the biggest things about? It's actually one of my favorite art forms is Soviet propaganda art,
Yeah.
especially to do with cosmonauts, but also especially to do with like all the statues of Lenin, Stalin, the heroes, the
Oh
great-
yeah, Lenin's thought of as a hero
the
now,
Great
too.
Revolutionary War, or the Great Patriotic War is what they call World War II. They don't call it World War II. They call it the Great Patriotic War. But I had this art book one time. It was just full of Soviet propaganda artwork. It was all like blues, not blues, but like reds and oranges of just like a strong man in a field, and he's like pointing this way, and there's like a tractor, or just a dude with a shovel, and he's smiling, and he's got the little like workman's cap on. It's like for the good of the proletariat, everyone band together.
That would be interesting to see. I would like to see that just historically.
There's also a really good comic book called Superman Red Sun, where instead of landing in like Midwest America, Superman lands in Soviet Russia.
Oh wow.
And so it's like the big Superman symbol, but there's like a hammer and sickle in there. And he was like raised on a Commonwealth farm with like 40 other people, and he becomes the Soviet Superman basically. And he just like takes over everything eventually.
That's another big
It's
bit
a-
of
it's a really,
hypocrisy.
really
It's
good
like,
book.
I mean, anybody we've seen recently here in Seattle, somebody had a Nazi symbol on and somebody knocked him out. And, good for that. It was all over the video. They're like, oh, good, punch Nazis. We knocked him out or whatever. And then you see people literally wearing like the, shirts with the hammer and sickle. I mean, I
Che
could walk
Guevara
in.
shirts. I'd rather punch the shit out of a
Yeah.
Che Guevara shirt guy than a Nazi.
Oh yeah, I see the
Just
Che
that
Guevara.
partial thing.
I see the Che Guevara all the time. And we're anti-fascist. Go Che Guevara. It's
Do
like,
you know anything about Che Guevara guy who's wearing the Che Guevara shirt?
yeah, no, it's a fashion statement
He
from
slaughtered-
these idiot Hollywood elites that.
He slaughtered villages of innocent
Oh.
people when he was doing this thing down in Latin America, for
Oh.
one. And he was just a bad dude. But you think
Oh,
it's
yeah.
I mean, graphically, it's a cool looking image. It's aesthetically pleasing, but the dude is a total asswipe.
Oh yeah, he was responsible for basically like genocides. And I mean, he was on Rage Against the Machine cover. I'm a big fan of Rage Against the Machine, but I don't agree with that part of that. Yeah, love Rage Against the Machine, but seeing at Hollywood and they wear these Che Guevara things, is there any bigger group of hypocrites in the world than the Hollywood industry?
One of the ones I saw, I would never wear a Che Guevara shirt, but I saw one that I would. It was like a Che Guevara Elmo. I was like, I'd wear that just
Oh,
because.
that's kind of hilarious.
because
That's
I'm a-
just a troll shirt.
Because I want to think about like Elmo going through like Muppet Land, just be like, kill him, infidel pig dog.
Oh, jeez.
Did Elmo smell your pants?
Oh, that's great. But no, the Hollywood elite, like I said, always pushing this, equality and all this crap, and then we don't give Oscars to black people. And then you find out Harvey Weinstein's been molesting all the women for the last 60 years, and most of the guys knew about it, including Ben Affleck and
It's the old
all
Hollywood.
these other guys.
The thing is, it's the old Hollywood system. It's just it kind of was something that was people knew about it, but they kind of kept it under the rug, and then finally someone was like, "Hey, this will pop up again." Because it's just one of the things. Every time you see like watch an old like noir film, there's always like the, do I have to? Like if you want to be a star, don't you? You want to get up on the big screen, be on the big lights, be on the big stars, but you gotta take it down.
Yeah,
go down here, take it there.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's how a lot of I mean, I'm not condoning his actions, but it was a staple of the studio system. It was a staple of Hollywood. Why are you surprised? I mean, how many?
I'm not surprised. I'm waiting for all the stuff to come out from the 80s with Nambla and
Oh,
all the guys
yeah,
that were
yeah.
molesting boys. And I mean,
that's
there's
not a good thing.
No, there's tons of stuff that was going on there. And then you got hypocrites like Meryl Streep that, I mean, she comes out against conservative views or whatever and then says, that these people are heroes when she knows exactly what they did. What's the guy that left the country that was the huge director?
Roman Polanski.
Roman Polanski. Yeah, she stands up there and talks about what a hero he is right after he'd fled the country for being a rapist.
Yeah.
And then she says the same thing about Harvey Weinstein. She called Harvey Weinstein a god. And then, it's the same person that's walking around, saying we should, put Trump's head on a stick. And it's like, that's pretty hypocritical of you.
To be historically accurate on the Roman Polanski thing, the chick was behind a press note. She was like, "This was consensual. I had no problem doing this," but she was like, I think 16 and they said it was 17 at the time because it was like the 70s and late 60s.
That's a child, though. That's not acceptable.
It's still, but she was like, even today they did an interview with the Dave. Like, yeah, I was fine with it. There was nothing.
Think about how stupid you were when you were 16 years old.
But still, she was like,
so.
like in her 50s now. She's like, yeah, I don't regret it. I was totally consensual at the time. So, but it was wrong. It's statutory rape.
Yeah.
But it's still. She was like, no, I was totally fine with it. But he shouldn't be banished from the country. I mean, they gave him like an award, and he like flew to somewhere other in Europe, and then like the USA like pounced on him, and then like it was like under house arrest in like France somewhere.
Well, he's been in hiding, yeah, because he doesn't want to be extradited to the United States to come back and be prosecuted.
He's still made films, and he's not nuts and all good director. I mean, I hate Woody Allen, and he married his he married his stepdaughter.
Yeah, that was what a sick environment.
And that's not why I hate Woody Allen. I just hate Woody Allen because I don't like his movies. I don't like the neurotic Jewish movie. It's like, oh, and we had caring and the bagels though they were just so many, but the portions. I don't care for that.
Yeah, I don't like anything he's done. He annoys the hell out of me.
And you divorced your wife to marry your daughter. That's a little fucked up.
Yeah. Nobody ever talks about him. Now we're all talking about Harvey Weinstein.
We shouldn't talk about him because he's stupid. He sucks. His movies are terrible, and he's a horrible human being.
Well, why don't people boycott his videos though and demonize him the way they are Harvey Weinstein, who was?
I don't know. I mean, people think silent film
was a horrible guy, or Bill Cosby.
I mean, people think Fatty Arbuckle was one of those like stars of silent cinema, where he just sodomized a prostitute with a fucking champagne bottle and like beat her half to death. But he's still like in memoriam. He's still like in the not Hall of Fame, but he still had awards. They didn't like posthumously take those away. So it's just one of those where like I guess the lens gets blurry after a while, and like hindsight starts getting like, we don't really care as much anymore. We were outraged then, we don't care now. I'm sure like in 10 years, no one's gonna give a shit, and he'll still be making movies again. It's under some new production company.
That Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, but I know that from I guess.
Well, they banished him from the board of directors of the Oscars. He can't have anything to do with the major motion picture
they filmed
association.
some season of a TV series he was associated with, and they removed his name from the credits. I know that.
Yeah.
I think it was like Next Top Model or some show or something. So there'll still be Bob Weinstein, his brother, but they've deleted Harvey Weinstein off of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Harvey Weinstein, not to be confused with Harvey Weinstein, who is a professor, which I think that's kind of funny. I heard Harvey Weinstein was on Joe Rogan's podcast a week ago, and they called him Harvey Weinstein. He's like, "You related to this guy at all?" He's like, God, no. He's actually the brother of the guy who the whole Evergreen State scandal thing, with the whole day without a white person thing that was completely ridiculous. Brett Weinstein, who actually won that lawsuit against Evergreen State.
Okay.
He got quite a bit of money, but he's now in hiding, and his wife's being threatened. And I know we went way off topic there, but
yeah, because I have no idea what you're even talking about. I'm just nodding, and go like,
Yeah, no, Evergreen State, which right by here, like 30 miles from us, they had a thing called. They used to have Day Without an Immigrant, and then they had Day Without a Minority, where the black people would not come to school. And then look this up online. You can see they actually said, we're going to have Day Without a White Person, so you're not allowed to come tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, that's racist. He's like, just because I'm not a minority doesn't mean that you can't be racist towards me. And he got death threats. They tried to push him out of the school. There's videos of them bullying the principal, these children, and I call them children because it's just ridiculous.
They're dumb college kids.
They're screaming in this principal's face, and they're saying, "Put your hands down. That's a microaggression." And then they're laughing because they got him to put his hands down, and the kids were controlling the college. And it's just, look up Evergreen State and. I said Brett Weinstein, and it's just a whole ridiculous thing. And hopefully he ends up doing his own thing, his own podcast, and some different things from this, because he was actually a pretty liberal guy. I mean, he was by no means a conservative, and a lot of liberals attacked him for that because of, like we talked about, this mob gang mentality. If you're not with us 100%, you can't be with us at all.
Yeah, I don't care for that.
Yeah, no, I think it's ridiculous coming from either side. If you're really going to be about acceptance, try to accept people for everything, and just don't hate people, and just try not to be a crabby person.
Yeah.
It's.
And don't lend money to family.
Yeah, that too. No, I haven't had that bad experience, but yeah, I've heard that's not such a good idea.
It's not at all a good idea.
Yeah, lending or borrowing from family, or going into business with family. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not smart. Unless, like, I don't know, has there been any successful, I guess Ford, because...
Well, there's definitely been some successful family businesses where the son's taken over, or, whatever it is.
There was that, like, Orange County Choppers thing, which was weird.
I like that guy. I like the old guy, though. Especially, like, almost 70-year-old guy that just looks like he can tear you limb from limb.
He is all right.
His arms are, like, as big as my legs.
I hate his fat son, though. I hated that dumb retarded. That thing should have been aborted and flushed down the toilet, even at like age 30. They should have just like drove him out of the woods somewhere and like left him.
Let's take this time to recognize Fat Shaming Awareness Month. No.
Hey, you know what? I used to weigh over 300 pounds. So if I'm gonna call somebody fat, I'm allowed to call somebody fat.
I think fat shaming works. I think it's one of the most effective. It depends on the person, but I think it's definitely an effective tool.
Yeah, I mean it's like the N word for like large people. Like I can't say the N word because I'm not of that, but I can be like, hey, fat fuck. Put down a sandwich.
I don't think it's close to that. I mean, I'm carrying some extra weight right now. People want to call me fat, motivate me to get on the treadmill. I pulled out some old shirts that I found that I haven't worn in a long time the other day, and I start putting them on. I'm like, hey, this doesn't look good. My stomach's coming out like I look like I'm pregnant. Maybe I should get on the treadmill. So it's somewhat motivating to me. If people want to call me fat, whatever. I'm carrying a few extra pounds, so I don't think it's that big of a deal. When I definitely wouldn't.
There's that whole social media thing where it's like, you can't fat shame, you can't say that, because that'll give her low self-esteem, and then she'll get an unit there. Like, yeah, but fuck you.
Oh, whatever. It's professional victims. I'm tired of professional victims.
That's just what I'm saying. Like, if fucking Twiggy calls somebody fat, she's not allowed to do that. But if you were hefty and you got your shit together and you got down to a manageable, healthy weight, even if it's not like, even if you're not, if you were 350 and you got down to 250 or even like 280, kudos to you. You can be like, hey, 300-pound guy, put down the fork.
Yeah. And anybody out there looking to get healthier or to think clearer, our other new sponsor right now is Onnit. I use one of their products, Alpha Brain. It really helps my concentration. Blind placebo test through Boston Medical University showed at least 11% minimum, 11% improvement in memory recall, and it definitely has helped my memory recall. And just like when you have something on the tip of your tongue and you can't think of it, to me that 11%, it's like if you add 11% to your brain, okay, now you have all these other words, and then your brain's going to build on this. Okay, now you're going to think more of this and this and this. And it's like 11% doesn't sound like much. Think about if every 10 words that you tried to say, every 11th one didn't come out. That'd be a pretty big deal. This has been double-blind placebo test. Alpha Brain definitely been proven, I think, to work. Shroom Tech is a supplement that showed huge improvements in people's lifting abilities. I'm going to try that one soon, hopefully to burn some fat and stuff. But Onnit Labs, check them out online. They're definitely a super legit supplement company. And if you use our name, you will get a reference link. If you'll get some money back if you use us as a reference, and we'll get some percentages back to help run the show. And that's probably enough about Onnit. But Alpha Brain really, honestly, has helped me a lot. So I would highly recommend it.
Yay, smarty smarts.
Yeah. So what can we transition that into, though, so it doesn't sound like such a plug there? And
when you were talking about it, made me think of that movie Lucy, where like she gets that weird drug, like
I love that movie.
Start firing up. I'd love me some of that shit because I mean, not like so much to the level where I become like existence itself or like omnipresent. I'd just be like, I'd love to have like work 20% of my brain, 30, where you get that sort of kind of telekinetic shit. I think that'd be awesome as fuck.
Oh, yeah. And, like, outsmarting people or just making people look stupid with facts is much, much more self-fulfilling to me than the person that says, oh, well, F you, or shut up, or you're an idiot. Okay, and just, like, totally school them with facts where they're just sitting there like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And everybody's just laughing at them. And I'm just like, eh.
I can do that, but I want to be able to just like walk in that room and like make technically just like freeze time, where everybody's like, or it's almost like Matrix bullet time, where you're just like, I can't move, and she just rips all their guns apart.
Oh, and you see everything so much slower than everybody else.
Yeah, like you're just like you're
incredible.
like walking between atoms, just like between particles of dust and shit. You're just like side to side. I want if they can make a supplement that'll do that, I will just eat that all day long.
And then I'm going to join the NFL, and everybody's just going to be watching, and it's going to be like, hike, and all of a sudden you're in the end zone, touchdown, and everybody's like, what happened? And slow it down in the slow-mo.
That would be awesome, because those games would only last 5 minutes, and there wouldn't be that 3-hour post-game show, the 3-hour pre-game show. There would just be like that 5-minute game of like, okay, and score 508 to 307.
I just wanted to go fast enough that the stupid referees don't have a chance to throw 8 penalties on every play. That's the main reason I stopped watching so much football. It's ridiculous penalties.
I just want my TV back to normal. My whole schedule's thrown off by the damn fall football season. My morning TV schedule's messed up. It used to be, I used to wake up and I'd watch Cleveland Show, Merkin Dad, Family Guy, whatever. Now it's all Seinfeld. By the way, I hate Seinfeld. It's not funny. More of that neurotic
I can't
bullshit.
believe you hate Seinfeld.
Seinfeld is terrible. And now I have to wait till like noon for any like of my usual. I don't like when my routine gets fucked up, people. And now when I try and watch TBS, it's all like, oh, MLB post game show and football, and I'm like, no, damn it. There should just be one channel. All this shit should be on ESPN. All the baseball games, all the football games.
And then you could sell it as one package to people that want it as one channel.
Exactly, because I'm like, hey, I'd like my 5 o'clock news. And so it's like, no, football.
Like I like UFC, I have UFC Fight Pass.
Exactly.
I can go on there and I can watch fights anytime I want.
Yeah.
And if you're a fight fan, it's awesome. If you're not, If you're not a fight fan or you're not into it, you definitely don't want to be in the room when somebody's watching UFC. I understand that, or football or whatever. It's like if I was forced to sit and watch soap operas all day.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be absolutely ridiculous.
That wouldn't be too fun.
Yeah.
But even then, I wait all day. They have like the pregame show, then there's the game itself. It gets drawn out long because of whatever. Then there's the postgame show.
Oh, man.
And then my like 10 o'clock news finally starts like 15 minutes late. And then of course during that news show, and now there's Jim with sports. Sports was just on. Moving along to real news.
Well, and then they have these idiots that tell the stupidest jokes the whole time. You know what? I would watch football more if you had Chris Rock commentating.
There you go.
So entertain us.
Get like Doug Stanhope fucking commentating. Get you like that Bill Burr fella. I'm indifferent to him. He's all right. I just
Well, Bill Burr would be great commentating football. I love it.
When comedians get a sitcom, they tend to repeat their act a lot. If you ever watch like the first season of Home Improvement, Tim Allen, it's basically his whole like act is like season 1. His whole like stand-up routine is season 1. The Drew Carey Show. If you ever watch any of his stand-up stuff, the whole first season is just his entire act.
Well, these sitcoms consume their life.
They do.
Joe Rogan was talking about that with News Radio, and I know I talk about Joe Rogan a lot because I listened to a lot of his podcasts. Yeah, I liked it too.
Phil Hartman was my favorite character.
Who?
Phil Hartman.
Oh yeah,
he was my hero and my icon.
He was great.
He was killed